This is Geek News Central. My name is Todd Cochran, coming to you from the New Media Production Studio. The lead stories tonight are Twitter chaos tax. We'll talk about that. And something new, a new term. What is sovereign data? We're going to talk about the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, what it is, and who was left out, and the controversy therein. And the Boeing Starliner is joining SpaceX Crew Dragon at the International Space Station. I want to welcome you to episode 1602 of the Geek News Central podcast for Monday, May 23rd. This show is sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com and listeners just like you. Great deals from GoDaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. You can support this show today at geeknewscentral.com/insider, be becoming a Geek News Central insider. We want to give a warm welcome to all the new listeners of the show. We want to make sure you get over to geeknewscentral.com. Please follow or subscribe to the podcast via your favorite podcast listening app. You can always listen on the website as well because we produce the show. It's distributed there. And of course, there's a player there. You can always join our chat room. That's a real easy thing to do by going to geeknews.chat or hook up on our Discord channel. Both those links are on the website at geeknewscentral.com. You can contact me at any time via email, geeknews@gmail.com, geeknews@gmail.com, or on Twitter at geeknews. You can always follow me on Facebook. Of course, we want you to check out our partner shows. Those are all linked at geeknewscentral.com. Includes the New Media Show, The Gadget Professor, GNC Week in Review with Scott and Kirk do those shows. So definitely check that out. We want you to be part of the family here, part of the bigger family of all our partner shows. This show, of course, is sponsored by the longest running continuous sponsor of a podcast. That's our good friends at GoDaddy. Again, get over to geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy to lock in savings. All these deals are available today. You can save money, whether it be 30% off a new product purchase, a $4.99.com new or transfer domains for new customers only, a $1.99 a month economy hosting for the first year with a free domain. Again, $1.99 a month economy hosting for the first year with a free domain. $24 gets you started. You get a brand new domain name. $8.49 is the value on that. So essentially, you start a new online website, get you up and running simply for $24, grand total, and you're good for a year. Or $2.99 a month managed WordPress hosting for the first year of the free domain. So if you don't want to manage it, you don't want to take care of the technical stuff, you don't want to update it, $36 is well worth the cost to get up and get started, to have a new business, have a new online website, start a podcast. Again, $2.99 managed WordPress hosting for the first year. Again, includes a free domain, which is an $8.49 value. And of course, those of you that really want click and play, you can get a free trial of GoDaddy Website Builder, your choice of personal business or business plus plans. That's a 1-month free trial. Again, all these promo codes are linked to geeknewscentral.com. All you got to do is come over here and either copy the code or click the link to lock in savings. And we know that Geek News Central listeners save an average of 94% per purchase on GoDaddy hosting accounts, an average of $3.50 on each GoDaddy domain name. All these GoDaddy coupon codes are non-expiring and been verified to work and are validated. You should support us because this keeps this podcast online, allows me to do what I do, allows me to pay the writers, pay the rent, pay the electricity, pay the taxes, all the things that go along with doing an online business. My insurance just came in. That was $1,600 for the year. So every time you support GoDaddy, you allow me to make sure I make my insurance payment and all those other things that go along with it. So I want to thank all of you that support GoDaddy as a sponsor of this show. Definitely check them out. Again, geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy and over at GoDaddy.com. Lock in those savings. So, hey, everybody, glad to be back with you. I know it's been kind of crazy here due to all the travel, but I was down in Orlando, and it's been first time in Orlando in some time. I had a great trade show event. It was fantastic. 7,000 people were there. Lots of great companies to talk to. One of the first companies I talked to was Nike, and of course I was wearing my Nike sneakers, and I said, "Well, I'm a customer too." So she laughed, and but anyway, it was a great show. Had lots of good conversations, and potentially a significant amount of business coming out of that event. But Florida, my goodness, they are open big, 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 big time, and things are hopping. It's crazy. Every place that I went, the restaurants, the stores were full. Full, full. Lots of people out and doing things. But the only bad thing that I'm hearing about Florida is housing is just a train wreck, because so many people have and are still moving to Florida. Something like 10,000 a week is what I heard. There's no housing, and the housing that they have, people's rents going from like $15 to $18 to $2,000 to $2,500 to $2,700 for rent in some places in Florida, just because it's scarce. So housing is a major crunch there. So if you're thinking about going to Florida, you better secure a place to live, because if you don't have one before you get there, you're going to be sleeping in your car. But yeah, so very, very busy. But I got back on, what day did I get back? I don't even remember what day I got back, but I know I've got a short turnaround here. Yeah, I got back Friday. Yeah, Friday, I guess. And but I'm leaving again, going back down to Orlando for another event. I leave Wednesday morning. So that's going to affect the show schedule. Obviously, no show this coming Thursday, no show the following Monday either. I will be flying back from Orlando on Monday. So, and of course, it's a holiday too. So I get to spend my Memorial Day weekend down in Orlando. And then again, it's kind of crazy what things have shaped up here. But I get back on Monday the 30th, and then I'm out. There'll be a show on Thursday, June 2nd. But then I got another trip, short one, company trip for about 4 days over the weekend of the 4th, my birthday, and then coming back, and I'll be in New Jersey on the 11th. So we'll be on a full schedule on. It's going to be hit and miss for the next couple of weeks again. So I thank you for being patient here, but things will calm down about the middle of June, and I won't be going as much, just the way it is. But I did get a little bit about a food poisoning Saturday, and had a family event Sunday, so kind of suffered through that. What else? And then, and here we are. Here we are on Monday. But I did get a very good phone call. My daughter Anna called me, and she said, "Did you see the group chat?" And I said, "No, I must be on a different chat, because I didn't see the group chat." But it appears, if everything goes correctly, and still a little early yet, I'm going to have a 5th grandchild come about January. So my daughter Anna is pregnant, and her husband are expecting. So congratulations to them. And but boy, oh boy, it's it's kind of weird. I was kind of thinking about it recently. I'm like, I wonder. They've been together for a while, been married for a while, and wondered when that would happen. And lo and behold, here we were. So anyway, hey everyone, thanks for holding in there. And I'm back with you. Got a great show lined up for you today. Kirk was stuck in some sort of traffic in Jersey, so he could not do show prep. So I did the show prep tonight for the first time in a while. And one of the articles that kind of struck me, and I actually gave the New York Times my email address for the first time, because I couldn't get to the article without doing so, and I'm not paying them, but I guess I'm on their limited number of articles for the month. And but apparently this topic that I broached with you at the beginning of the show about what is sovereign data is that nations are now accelerating efforts to control data produced within their perimeters, disrupting the flow of what has become kind of digital currency. And we all know that every time we send an email, tap an Instagram ad, swipe our credit cards, we create a piece of digital data, right? And that information goes wherever it needs to go to get authorized or to turn on. And that route could be pretty wild. Now, typically here in the United States, if you play a YouTube video, you're probably going to stay within the confines of the United States. But if you heart a TikTok video, you may not. You not know where that server may or may not be. Same thing with Instagram, because who knows? Maybe the data center where you're closest to is in Canada, and then maybe the data goes across to Canada. Or if you're doing a digital transaction, maybe that transaction is going all the way to China and back if the vendor's there. And what they're saying is, and of course, completely unregulated, the flow of bits and bytes fuel this internet economy, like Google and Amazon have reshaped global communications, etc. So has the data of stuff that we interact with. So now the era of what they call open borders for data is ending. France, Austria, South Africa, and more than 50 other countries are accelerating efforts to control the digital information produced by their citizens. Government agency and corporations driven by security and privacy concerns as well as economic interest is looking to lock this data within their country. Now, we're not the only ones. In Washington, the current administration is circulating an early draft and executive order meant to stop China from gaining access to American data. In the EU, judges and policymakers are pushing efforts to guard information generated within the 27-nation bloc, including tougher online privacy requirements and rules for artificial intelligence and GDPR. In India, lawmakers are moving to pass a law that would limit what data could leave the nation of almost 1.4 billion people. And the number of laws, regulations, government policies that require digital information to be stored in a specific country more than doubled from 144 in 2017 to 2021. Now, here's something that's interesting. Because I'm a data company and we deal in media, a lot of the customers I get from Canada, we have to almost get, because my podcast ecosystem is built on Amazon Web Services. Our servers are largely in the United States. We don't have any data servers in Canada or in the EU or places like that. But some of these potential customers that I'm going to be signing from an enterprise standpoint have a requirement that the data must reside at rest in Canada. So this, in essence, what that's going to do is drive my cost up to be able to make sure that I have the data stored in a data center in Canada, and maybe it'll route through America, but ultimately reside over there. But again, sometimes we've had to get waivers, and largely for Canadian government businesses and for media companies and so forth. So, China has long cordoned their digital ecosystems, and they've imposed national rules and routing, and it's cost companies business. But the amount of data has become so big over the last decade that it's created pressure to bring it under what they're calling sovereign control. And for most of us, the new restrictions are unlikely to shut down popular websites, but users might lose access to some services or features depending on where they live. Facebook recently said it would temporarily stop offering augmented reality filters in Texas and Illinois to avoid being sued under laws governing the use of biometric data. So the core idea of digital sovereignty is that the digital exhaust created by a person, business, or government should be stored inside the country where it originated, or at least handled in accordance with privacy and other standards set by a government. When GDPR came out in the EU, my company decided to do GDPR global. We just adopted that policy for everyone. United States or no, didn't matter where they came from. We treated it the same. So, hey, Doug, thanks for being on, coming to the show and saying hi. But The United States largely supports a free, unregulated approach, lets data zip between democratic nations unhindered. Of course, China's been joined by Russia and others in walling off the internet and keeping data within their reach to, quote unquote, surveil their citizens and suppress dissent. And Europe has been heavily regulated markets and rules on data privacy is forging another path. So it's going to be a very strange time moving forward. And as new rules are introduced, it's going to raise alarms, because what if I want you to listen to this show, and in your country, the only way you can listen to it is if this media file that I'm going to put on the internet only resides in the United States and it doesn't reside on a server in whatever country you may be. Big companies like Microsoft and stuff, they can afford to do this, but small businesses like mine, then it's a cost of business thing. And we have to really look, can we do this type of data storage in different countries and still provide it at the price we provide it? So time will tell on this. Hey, if you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube or on Twitter, make sure you say hello, make a comment, retweet. We definitely appreciate when you do. Just say hi and let us know you're here. No pressure whatsoever, but thanks for tuning in. So anyway, that's the deal. The era of borderless data is ending, and sovereign data. Who would have ever thought? But it kind of makes sense, right? The Wall Street Journal has a great article about Elon Musk and the planned takeover is creating what they're calling a chaos tax for employees at Twitter. And I'm kind of like, boo-hoo. It appears that the employees are so freaked out is that, and they're saying it's now a tricky time to work at Twitter. Employees are feeling bewildered about their jobs and how they'll be after a Musk takeover. And internal conversations, Slack channels are awash in distress and anger over criticism, while company leaders who themselves have no way to know the outcome have responded with repeated staff meetings to try to soothe the anger and encourage people to press forward. And Jay Sullivan, the new head of product, he took over from one of the two that got fired. He says, I expect chaos tax and ups and downs to continue. As I know more, I will find ways to share with this group. So it's interesting how crazy the Twitter folks are about this takeover. How one man can cause people to lose their mind. And they say that whatever the fate of the deal, many current former employees say the company's been irrevocably shaped by the 5 weeks since Mr. Musk publicly disclosed his unsolicited bid to buy Twitter. And some employees have left. Many more say they're looking for new jobs. Probably not a good time to look for jobs right now. Others are hunkering down to wait an uncertain fate. And some have expressed optimism that he might actually reinvigorate the company that has languished. Dozen employees have argued that Mr. Musk's offensive comments aside, he has the potential to spur Twitter's product and growth teams to reach their potential, according to a person familiar with the internal discussions. So, of course, the CEO has told the company employees they've fallen very short of audience and revenue growth set in the early 2020s. And reminder, this is, kind of laugh. That wasn't so long ago. We're still in the early 2020s, right? So this whole takeover is something we're going to be talking about on this show for a long time. And it's just a amazing amount of crybabies. It really is. Your job probably isn't going to change that much unless you're lazy and not working. And maybe people will be demanded to put in their time, like they apparently not all of them are. So time will tell where this goes. As I said in a few years ago when a certain president was elected, I said, just keep your popcorn warm, right? So I think this is going to be the same thing. I think it's going to be, let's keep the popcorn warm and buttered, because I think it's going to be fascinating to watch from afar. And we will see, but we'll keep going here. So this particular article is kind of outside the norm of what we normally talk about in the show. But the current administration has heralded an Indo-Pacific trade deal signed by several nations that do not include Taiwan, while at the same time the president warned China, which was, well, let me say this. At the time, the president warned China that America would help defend Taiwan from attack. And, of course, Taiwan is a critical slice of the global chip industry. But here's the interesting deal. He said this, and then the White House came back and said, oh, no, we're not going to help Taiwan. We're not going to protect them if they're attacked. But the agreement known as the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework is still in its infancy, with today's announcement enabling the United States and the other 12 participating countries to begin negotiating rules of the road that ensure U.S. businesses compete in the Indo-Pacific. Along with America, our other IPEF signators include Australia, Brunei, India, Indonesia, Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, New Zealand, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam. Combined, the White House said 13 countries participating in the IPEF make up 40% of the global economy. That's pretty amazing. And the list lacks many of the countries included in the failed Trans-Pacific Partnership. So you notice Japan is not, well, they were in that list. So it's very interesting. But Taiwan, it continues to be this outlier. So we will see what happens with this. But this comment that he made, I don't know, on the news today or yesterday or sometime, is interesting, and in considering that the IPF does not include Taiwan in the deal. It's like they always are tiptoeing around China, aren't they? Congratulations to Boeing. Boeing Starliner joined SpaceX Crew Dragon at the International Space Station. I caught the launch on replay. It wasn't that exciting, per se, but that first stage did burn for a long time. It burns much longer than the Dragon does. But the OFT-2 expected with a near flawless launch of a ULA Atlas V. And 2.5 years after the first attempt, they've been able to get up there. They've docked. Of course, there was no crew aboard. They just brought up cargo. And so now they are scheduled to depart the International Space Station on Wednesday and land at White Sands. That's where they're going to bring the capsule back. They are not going to land it in the water. So teams in New Mexico gear up for the Wednesday landing. And if all goes to plan, that's where it's going to be, where they're going to plop it down. So I'm really curious to see this from a landing standpoint, how they're going to protect the belly of the Starliner. But if all goes well here, we're going to potentially ramp up for a manned test in the near future. Also, I picked up a bunch of stuff off space.com today. Kirk doesn't always pick articles up from there, but I was doing show prep, so I grabbed a few more. But there's some great moon and sunrise Starlink satellite launch photos that are available via space.com. One of it's just, and for those of you listening, a SpaceX rocket launch tracking camera captured an amazing view of the moon just ahead of the company's launch of a Falcon 9 rocket carrying 53 Starlink antennas on May 18th. And it is pretty amazing picture of the moon. At the same time, there was a picture of the rocket on the pad, and the sun almost lined up perfectly behind it. it was pretty impressive as the aircraft ascended. It looks like it's essentially flying through the sun. So it was just really, really slick picture that someone captured. But two or three real good ones there for the day. So definitely link those will be up. Check them out. Something you may want to potentially grab for a background for your computer. Now, I haven't been changing my background that much. I used to change it like almost every day to some new space photo that I would have grabbed. But we got one today here a little later in the show. Maybe it's the next article or so that was pretty impressive. But we haven't talked about the Hadron Collider in a while. They haven't blown us into smithereens yet. The ALICE experiment of the Large Hadron Collider is, for the first time, directly measured a phenomenon known as dead cone, which has allowed physicists to directly measure the mass of a fundamental particle known as a charm quark. I'm not going to go into this whole thing, but they looked for this through data that the Hadron Collider had collected over 3 years, and to find just one of these. And they found it to be very challenging, but they finally got one. And so anyway, if you're a physicist and you're interested in quarks and that kind of stuff, yes, I said quarks, definitely grab the link in the show notes and check it out. Also, we got Gizmodo's got 11 great pictures of Earth from space. Seeing, of course, one of them out from Mars, of course, where we're just a dot. But NASA, the image of the day really is this image of a whirlpool of galaxy, and it's called M51. It's 31 million light years from Earth in the constellation of Canes Ventusi, and it was captured by Hubble, and it's a pretty amazing photograph. You think about the millions of pictures that Hubble has captured. There's just a lifetime of images to look at that telescope has captured for us, and a lot of these are available that you just go through and look for on some NASA archives. But it's nice when they spin one up for us here that we don't have to go look for. We can just grab and make it a desktop background for a while. It is pretty amazing of an image for sure. And someone said, I wish there was an AI that could interpret images and turn it into music. I'd love to hear what this picture sounded like, wrote one user. It looks so beautiful in there and all the beautiful lights. What a beauty. Can't divert my eyes. According to a press release, the space agents explained that the graceful winding arms of the majestic galaxy M51 are actually long lines of stars and gas laced with dust. It said that such striking arms are a hallmark of a so-called grand design spiral galaxy. And when I see some of this stuff, it's almost like you go back to the red pill, blue pill thing. And it's like when OLED TVs came out, there was a thing I used to say on the show a lot, that the images looked more real than life. And some of these Hubble images are exactly that. It's hard to imagine what we're seeing is actually real. It's hard to wrap your brain upon what you see because each star is its own, it's crazy what's going on in some of that space data collection. So anyway, cool one. All right, so back on the tech side here, Gigabit has launched a stealth DIY PC kit that hides all the cables. So if you are a builder of computers and you don't like to see wires, and or you work very hard to work on cable management, all of the computers I used to build were just, I didn't care. It was a mess in there. Whatever it took to get things hooked up and tucked away so you could put the lid on was good. But if you'd like to have a cleaner wiring for your PC, Gigabit has developed a solution for this problem. It's called a custom stealth PC kit. For now, Gigabit is only selling these parts as a complete kit rather than individually, including a case, a custom motherboard, and a GPU. And you can only get an Intel motherboard for now, but there's a cool video. It does look like, oh my God, sexy inside. And you look at this and you're like, that's a computer. You're right. Where's the cables? Where did they stash them? How did they do this? I'm going to go through and dig in to see if I can find some images and see what they did. But obviously a bunch of custom connectors for all the interfaces. That's probably the only way they ever do it. Hey, just want to say hi to Clinton, Toby. Thanks for checking in and saying hello on the stream. We appreciate it. Now, this next story is one many of you will probably scratch your head a little bit about. When we buy a vehicle, we don't always read the owner's manual, right? I know I don't. I just push the buttons until I figure out what I've yet to use. My Edge has got that self-park feature. I have yet to parallel park using that feature. It's, it's residing in the computer, and someday I might push it, but I can parallel park. I don't need the car to do it. And there's a few other things the car does that I've never used. It's a feature that I paid for, but, is part of the package. But, opening the doors, being able to close the hatchback, all of those things are just common things. But what happens when a Tesla loses power? How do you get out? Well, a Tesla driver said he kicked out a window to escape a fire in his Model Y. He'd only had the vehicle for a little while. He said he kicked out the window to escape a fire after the electric car lost power. He said the car shut down while we stopped near an intersection. He said it lost power to electronic components and that smoke began to fill the car through air vents. The doors wouldn't open. The windows wouldn't go down. I kicked through the window, climbed out, and called 911. This is where probably reading the manual if you have a Tesla vehicle is important. All Teslas have a manual release option for opening the doors in emergency. The Model Y's emergency response guide says it has a mechanical release handle near the window switches. This gentleman said that the option was too difficult for him to figure out in his haste to escape the car, and that he hopes other drivers take the time to learn how to work it properly. He says he'd owned a Model Y for a few months, and he doesn't expect to buy another Tesla. Now, I think that would be like one of the first things I would test. I'm like, okay, you push the button, the door. Let's open the door with the manual override. Let's just try that. I think I would do that. Of course, the incident is one of a handful of Tesla fires in recent days. On Monday, a local Fox affiliate in Brooklyn, Illinois, where Tesla caught fire. On May 14th, the Model 3 caught fire in California City, California. So these are going to happen to these electric vehicles. They are going to catch on fire. If you think about gas vehicles, all of us have been driving and seen a car either in process of burning up or had been burned up and there's a shell left, or smoke coming out of a car, and this is going to end badly. We've all seen gas vehicles do this. So why do people get so freaked out when Teslas burn up, when they're run by batteries, and at some point, there's going to be a fault, and cars are going to burn up? So it happens with gas. It's going to happen with electric. So I don't know why it's such a big deal. It doesn't make the news when a car burns up on the side of the road, a gas-powered vehicle. So why should it make a difference when an electric car burns up? Insurance is still going to pay just the same. A spacecraft recorded the lunar eclipse like you've never witnessed before. And they made a big hype of this story. And I'm going to be honest with you. It's 16 seconds of my life I'll never get back. Yeah, I know it wasn't very much, but the total lunar eclipse that happened that I didn't see, apparently there was a satellite out there that was taking pictures, and it's fuzzy. It's not even a good picture. Just trust me. I'll have the link in the show notes, but if you go over there, you've been forewarned. You're wasting time to click on the article and go watch the video. Zoom popped 16% on its first quarter earnings beat and strong guidance. So Zoom nearly beat on the top line, but sailed past estimates for earnings while giving a better than expected outlook for the second quarter. Prior to Monday's earnings report, Zoom shares lost 85% of their value since peaking in October 2020. The company reported 5 straight quarters of triple-digit revenue growth during the pandemic, but expansion is now more challenging. But they did $1.03 per share versus 87 cents per share. They did 1.07 billion versus 1.07 billion expected. So I guess that was right on the money. And but the growth is slower, of course. But we pay our Zoom bill every month. We're on Zoom Enterprise, and we even use Zoom for our phone system. So lots of stuff going on in the business space. Many of you are freaked out right now about your portfolios, specifically the portfolios with your stocks. I think it's going to get worse. I think that things are going to get more crazy. It might be a good time to grow a garden. If you haven't ever done one, it might be the year to do that. If you haven't priced tomatoes lately. But one thing I'll say on this, if you're going to do a garden, don't grow lettuce. Don't grow tomatoes. Grow something in high calorie, something gives you a lot of calories in case things really go sideways. What's probably the best thing you can grow? Potatoes. It has a very, very high calorie count. You get a lot of bang for your buck for growing potatoes. Yes, tomatoes are expensive. Lettuce is expensive, but they take a lot of space to grow, and they are very nutrient. They're not dense. They don't give you a lot of calories. So if you're going to grow a garden, grow stuff that corn is another one. That's another calorie-dense product, and you can use everything else remaining for your compost pit. So anyway, what does it have to do with Broadcom paying about $80 billion for VMware? Nothing. But there's just a lot of stuff going on right now, a lot of slowdown, a lot of non-hiring. We put out a job announcement 2 days ago. We have had 200 people apply for the job already. 200. The last time I put out a job announcement, we got like 30 in 2 weeks. We've got 200 job applicants in less than 2 days. That's an amazing, and that's excluding, we had a whole bunch of foreign people, non-U.S. people applying for the position, which we were requiring this, whoever we hired to live inside the United States and be able to work in the United States legally. It's not to say that there isn't a lot of qualified people throughout the world, but that 200 applications was not including the foreign applications we got. So there's something afoot when I have 200 programmers apply for a job in 2 days. The slowdown in hiring is real. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I guess it's good for us when we're trying to hire. Snap. My goodness. Snap will miss its own targets for revenue and adjusted earnings in the current quarter. The social media company also slowing hiring through the end of the year. So this is Snapchat. Snap shares plunged 25% as the CEO warned in a note to employees the company will miss its own targets and that it's going to slow hiring through the end of the year as it looks to manage expenses. He said, we filed an 8K sharing that macro environment has deteriorated further and faster than we anticipated when we issued our quarterly guidance last month. As a result, while our revenue continues to grow year over year, it's growing more slowly than expected. So everyone is so focused on this EBITDA. It's crazy. And what about just profit and loss? Snap Industry peers tumbled on news. Shares of Facebook, Meta, and Twitter fell, as well as Pinterest did as well. So, of course, the makers of Snapchat app are facing raising inflation, interest rates, supply chain shortages, labor disruptions, and platform policy changes like Apple's iPhone privacy feature. And, of course, the thing going on in the war in Ukraine. So it's an interesting time. Airbnb will shut down domestic operations in China. Listing for homes and Airbnb experiences will cease by summer. So it's shutting down its business in mainland China due to mounting costs and domestic competition. Outline vacation rental platform first launched operations in China in 2016. But there's some copycats out there that are, and also they're Chinese companies. And guess what? They get preferred handling and lots of competition. So they're saying we're out. So, of course, the travel industry, not a lot of people are going to China right now because, well, they don't want to go to China. They don't want to support China. They don't want to give China any dollars for what they did during the pandemic. So it's not surprising that travel to China has plummeted. So time will tell. Zuckerberg has been sued for his alleged role in the Cambridge Analytica data scandal. And this is interesting here. Washington's District of Columbia Attorney General filed a lawsuit today directly accusing Meta's CEO of personal involvement in the abuses that led to the data slurping scandal. DC AG Carl Racine filed the civil suit on Monday, saying his office investigations found ample evidence Zuck could be held responsible for that 2018, and they actually used the word beep beep, cluster something. For those that put it out of mind, UK-based Cambridge Analytica harvested tens of millions of people's info via third-party Facebook app. But anyway, they've sued Zuck personally. He's got insurance. That's what the company does for executives. This company I'm not familiar with at all. The Swedish buy now, pay later Klarna is laying off 10% of its workforce. So they're in a valuation crunch. There's all kinds of crazy things going on. So again, here we are, slow down in tech and people being let go. So this is probably what's driving much of the, on the tech sector, people looking for jobs. Amazon aims to sublet and end warehouse leases as online sales cool. Now listen to that. Amazon aims to sublet and end warehouse leases as online sales cool. Company wants to shed at least 10 million square foot of space. Amazon spooked investors last month after saying it overbuilt. Wow. They're stuck with too much warehouse capacity now that surge in pandemic era has faded. Again, the excess capacity includes warehouses in New York, New Jersey, Southern California, and Atlanta. Said the people requested anonymity because they're not allowed to speak about the deals. The space could far exceed 10 million square feet, two people said, with one saying it could be triple that. Another person close to the deliberation said a final estimate on the square footage to be vacated hasn't been reached. Wow. And a sign that Amazon's being careful not to cut too deeply should demand quickly rebound. The 10 million square foot is the company is looking to sublet is roughly equivalent to about 12 of its largest fulfillment centers, or about 5% of the square footage added during the pandemic. And another signal, Amazon is hedging its bets. Some of the sublet terms would last just 1 or 2 years. So that's, here's what it is. People are not, they don't have as much disposable income. I just filled my car up with gas, and I used to buy premium. Now I'm not buying premium. $76 to fill the car up with gas. And the last time I went to the grocery store, I just bought bare essentials, $176. I know that for some of you with big families, that's not very much. But when people are saying that groceries could cost an average family an extra $1,000 a year, that's a big number. That's a big number. And add this to baby food shortages and all this other stuff going on. Are we in the Soviet Union? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts here. How bad is this hurting you? What's going on with the economy? I'll be surprised. We've had only one insider cancel their ongoing insider subscription. Been an insider for a long time. I understand when people have to do that. They have to cut, every little dollar counts. They start adding things up. What are you cutting? Are you cutting Netflix? Are you cutting YouTube TV? What are you cutting? That's what I want to know. And what are you going to do different? Now, I've told all of you during the pandemic that you need to be prepared and have another option, another business. You have to have something to potentially fall back on or add to. And this is where I think that right now, it might be a good time to consider this again from what I talked about earlier. So I get this great deal from GoDaddy, right? Talked about it during the beginning of the show. $24 gets you a website, gets you online, gets you your own .com. Again, you can start a e-commerce site, you can do a podcast, you can be a blog. There's something you can do there. My daughter started a YouTube channel. She's playing around with that. Take some time and none of this stuff happens overnight. You got to take some time to build something up. And why not? Why not consider doing something? And I've got a perfect outlet here for you to get started inexpensively. If it doesn't work out, you don't feel it's getting much traction after the first year, you don't have to continue. That's the beauty of it. Hold the domain. You can shut down the website. But consider starting something today, because are you going to need a backup? If we go into a recession, or God forbid, a depression, I think we're going to go into a recession, because people, if Amazon says they've got 10 million square feet of extra space, and I'm looking at my commercial, my commercial rental that I have, if we were already at the end of release, we'd have been gone, or they'd had to give us a huge discount. I'll probably move into a co-working space for my company. That's probably what we'll do, and have one where we'll buy one of those subscriptions. We can use it wherever. Don't have to be in Columbus. We could be in Lansing, Michigan, or I could be in Los Angeles or someplace like that, and be able to use an online office when I need one, or my team does. I don't need to have a 5,000 square foot office sitting there that are empty, where 3 or 4 employees come in once a week. That's dumb. That's not good money. I could take that money and put that into another employee. So, and plus, the whole thing with the taxes, good Lord. I'm still reeling from the tax bill from earlier this year. So where are you in what's going on? What are you cutting? Because everything has gone up. Love to hear from you. geeknews@gmail.com. geeknews@gmail.com is a place to email me. If you're not an insider and you want to consider being one, this would be a great time to be an insider. geeknewscentral.com/insider. Your support of GoDaddy is very, very important. I know that I haven't been doing too many shows, but it's because of my crazy work schedule right now. We would love if you would support the main sponsor. And take my thoughts seriously here about kicking something off and doing something cool for yourself. All right. I want to thank you all for being fans, for being longtime followers of the show. Those of you who stayed subscribed, we're on 1602. Long ways to go to 1700. But I'll be back with you. But again, no show Thursday, because I'm going to be back in Orlando. If you're in Orlando, give me a shout out. And Monday, I'm traveling back to Michigan on Monday, so no show on Monday. But and then the schedule's kind of crazy again for a little bit. But don't worry, I want you to be here. If you're in Trenton, New Jersey, let me know too. I'm in Trenton for one night on June 11th, I think. Flying down in the morning, speaking, and then coming back the next morning. So if you're in Trenton, I'll be in Trenton in the middle of June. Then later on in August, I'll be back out in Vegas, and I'm going to Dragon Con in Atlanta, and then where else? So I think that's about hopefully wrapping it up for the year, but we'll see. Okay, I also got to go to Podcast Movement, so it's like, yeah, August is kind of crazy too. All right, everyone, thanks. Thanks for being here. Thanks for staying subscribed. We'll see you next time here in the Geek News Central Podcast. Everyone, take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.